Now, is this user the same as Harry at localhost? No, they're two unique users. Okay. So now I have that entry in there. It's in both of those tables. Remember we showed those tables last time. There's a DB table, and then there's a user table. I'm going to try it again. Still says the same thing. We allowed www.thegummibear.com, but when connecting to MySQL, it looks like it just uses the IP. So really, I should have done this. Grant all privileges on Hogwarts start to Harry at the IP address identified by whatever the password is. And then I can see, oh, now I have it. I have 3 different Harry users at this time, and these are all independent of one another. So now we're going to try it for the 3rd time. 3rd time's the charm. MySQL -H, Harry, okay, yay, I'm logged in. That tested my remote connectivity, but I should actually see if Harry can do anything on that machine. So Harry can show databases, use Hogwarts, show tables, he can do select statements, okay, and good. So that's really what we're going for. Let me see if there's one more. Let's look at our assignment. Yeah, this one. Okay. So install MySQL, install the client package for MySQL on your web server and on your master DNS system. My autograder is going to check that it can connect from both of those machines. Install packages on the web server necessary for the scripting system access MySQL. Configure root with an appropriately secure password. I don't think we need to remove anything, but you could check. Allow remote connections. We showed how to do that. Create at least 3 MySQL users that have access to the database management system. One should be allowed to access only from the local host. So what's your grant statement going to look like here? Grant all privileges on star.star, or whatever the database is, to Joe at localhost, or whatever your username is, identified by some password. Only from the web server. What's going to change there?
It only allows it from a certain IP address.
Yeah, so your grant statement, instead of Joe at localhost, would be Joe at whatever the IP address is. One should be allowed access from any system on your LAN. So how do we do that? Yeah, we want to do some sort of wild card. I didn't take a screenshot of that, so let's look that up. Wild card, grant statement, MySQL, I don't know, something like that.
It would just be the IP address, but the last bit is just a star.
Let's check. It's either a star or it was a % sign. We'll test. Oh, you can use star to represent the table name. Oh, I think you can actually do wildcard network MySQL grant. Nope, don't that. Use a % sign as a wildcard in the IP address. So you can do, I don't know if you can see it very well, you can do like 192.168.1 %. The only problem with that is that wildcards the whole last octet of your statement. You can actually use a net mask. So you can put in a wildcard and then your 255.255.255 dot. Great, I think, for this class. Okay, so you might have to poke around for that, but you can use a net mask there. Okay, create at least 3 databases on your system, 1 for each of the users. Each user should be given all normal access privileges for their individual database. They should be able to do anything they want on that database. So 3 users, 3 databases. Okay. The hardest part of this might be this. Create or download a web application that requires the use of a database. Configure the application to use the database created in the previous step for the user that can only access from the web server. And then you'll verify it. I would use the command line to test that localhost can work. I would use the command line to check that your user on the web server can connect, and then use the command line to check that a user on some other machine, like your NS1, can connect. Also make sure, I would also test that your local user cannot access their database when logging in from the web server. Use the installed web application to ensure correct functionality of web access to the database. Okay, and then you have a submission file that looks like this. Let's look at this last set of screenshots, this one. So we have to, on our web server, we're going to create an app that's going to connect back to our database, and here is an example of how we might do that. We already have PHP installed, so we could actually just install or enable the php-mysql module so that PHP can connect to our MySQL database. So I went and searched for apt cache search, MySQL, grep PHP. That looked like a good, promising candidate. So I installed php-mysql. There we go, yes, yes, install, restart Apache, because now Apache has to make use of that new plugin, if you will. Now here's my very simple PHP app to test the application or test the connection. Right here. Now you don't have to understand any of this code. I'm never going to quiz you on this code, but I put it in one of my existing virtual hosts, squishy.thegummybear.com. I created test.php. I put it in the correct document root, and it looks something like this. Basically, we provide our credentials here. This is the host we're connecting to. That's the username we're connecting as. That's the password. That's the database we're connecting to. And then all it's doing is, if it can't connect, it's going to spit out, I can't connect. This is just raw HTML right here. And then this is my select statement. And then this line executes that statement. And this line loops through all the results of my table and spits them out. So you are free to copy and paste this. Oh, you can't copy and paste, but you're free to use this, or you're free to use anything that you want as long as it connects back to your database. And there are other examples of code. You can use Word, you can install WordPress, I don't care if that's what you want to do. There's a lot of other apps that could demonstrate this functionality. See that here? You can create a new virtual host, new document root. There's the example output here. For any errors you might have, we haven't looked at this, but Apache var log Apache 2 error log might have some errors that you could look at. So here was an example that I did. If I forgot a semicolon in my PHP file, it might give me a syntax error. And you could go on line 18 and look at that. Hopefully you don't have any errors, but don't give up if PHP doesn't load. Check, check, check. But then you can ask me after you've checked, and I'll help you out. So that's what we're doing for the database assignment. Once again, the auto grader for that won't work until we do the next assignment. So, questions on MySQL database?
Until next time.
Okay, let's double check before we move on. We're going to have a quiz here in just a few minutes. But let's see, today's the 9th. Alright, I'm just a little behind. Let me talk for a couple minutes about reverse DNS. And then in about, well, this actually probably do 15 minutes, so about 10 minutes we'll start with this. Unless you want, do you want to review anything about the quiz first?
Let's do it really short. Yeah, that'd be
So this is on users and groups, so let's do that.
pretty useful. Oh, just